Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Saga Red Dead, where we play Red Dead Redemption 2 and tell cowboy stories. And this week we're going to continue the story of Wyatt Earp. I think I've managed to break this down into 2 episodes, so this one and one more, and that should finish up the story of Wyatt Earp.
Never got us that oil wagon, did you?
And thus finish the
worry.
Wyatt and Doc Holliday storylines.
Thank you. You're still interested in the job, ain't you?
Yes, but I think we'll need another man. I like Charles Smith for this kind of thing.
I'll get him. You meet us at the wagon when you can. There's an old burnout shack up near the border north of a place called Dewberry Creek. We stashed it there.
Thank you.
See, Arthur, even you make mistakes sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right. So, in 1883, Earp's friend Luke Short was part owner of the Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City. But the mayor tried to run him out of business and run him out of town during the Dodge City War. Now, the Dodge City War was a bloodless conflict, and it's an affectionate name that was given to the conflict. It took place between Luke Short and the Dodge City mayor. Short appealed to Masterson, and Masterson contacted Earp on May 31st, 1883. Earp and Josephine went with Masterson, Johnny Millsap, Shotgun John Collins, Texas Jack Vermillion, and Johnny Green to Dodge City to help Short. And they were sworn in as deputies by Constable Dave Merrill. Now, Governor George W. Glick arranged a 10-day cooling-off period to allow Short to sell the saloon, but Short, Earp, and the others refused to compromise. Now, seeking to avoid a conflict with the deputized gunmen and under pressure from Governor Glick and the Santa Fe Railroad, which conducted a lot of business in Dodge, the mayor and the city council backed down. They allowed the gambling halls and dance halls and saloons to reopen, including the Long Branch, and the so-called Dodge City War ended without a shot being fired. But they were, I don't know exactly what they were trying to do. Anytime people try to control other people, it just turns out poorly. And in this regard, the mayor was, not only was he trying to shut down all of the dance halls and saloons and gambling halls, and basically make all of that illegal, he was also trying to run this man clean out of business and even out of town. He just, for whatever reason, didn't like him. So, it's a interesting thing that went on there. Now, Wyatt and Josephine were common law married, and I believe they eventually later got married by a ship captain when they were on a cruise or something like that. But back then, if you lived with someone for a certain amount of time, you were considered to be married by the law. So, but they moved around a lot, and
Hi, Arthur. Come here a minute.
they went to Alaska. They spent some time in Alaska. They owned a bunch of mining stuff. They bought oil wells down in Texas and other places. But the Earps never really just hit it big.
What they want?
I have no idea.
They see you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
We're going to let them talk, and then we'll get back after it. Well, I guess that was it. Okay. So we're going to jump forward in history quite a bit, mostly because, like, there were some things that went on, but nothing that was just, that just sticks out as a huge piece of history. Wyatt had his fair share of small successes and small failures, for the next 30 years nearly.
Morning, Arthur. So you're heading to
You
the
know,
wagon now?
but
Soon, yeah.
it was a lot of easy living. He did some boxing refereeing. He refereed a very famous match in California during a short stint that they lived there in Los Angeles. And then they moved up to Alaska, and then they ended up back in California. So, but in 1910, they were in Los Angeles, California. Wyatt and Josephine moved around a lot, working the mining claims, and he even owned a saloon for a while. But they eventually ended up in Los Angeles and the Los Angeles area. And in 1910, when he was 62 years old, the Los Angeles Police Department hired Wyatt and former Los Angeles detective Arthur Moore King at $10 a day to carry out various tasks outside the law, such as retrieving criminals from Mexico, which he did very capably. This led to Wyatt's final armed conflict. In October of 1910, he was asked by former Los Angeles Police Commissioner H.L. Lewis to head up a posse to protect surveyors of the American Trana Company. They were attempting to wrest control of mining claims
You ain't winning them.
for vast deposits of potash on the edge
What do you care, Englishman? You've got no
the
time
Sears
for me.
Lake,
I tried to find
that
you
were
work,
held
but then you're off cutting jobs with other folks.
in
and your boy
receivership
Sean doesn't get a look.
by
I don't want to
the
get
foreclosed
shot,
California
that's all.
Trana
Yeah, you're a
Company.
real fucking funny shit, Arthur Morgan, huh?
We'll listen to this and then
Real
we'll actually
fucking
get into the
funny.
gunfight
Calm
proper.
down.
You better sleep with your eyes open.
Yeah, well, you're gonna sleep with your chest open if you ain't careful, boy.
I love you, Arthur Morgan. I love you. Come on, take a shot. Come on, take your best shot, please, eh?
Grow up.
And let me come on the raid with yous.
Raid?
Don't be playing coy with me, son. It's unbecoming. That bloody train you and him has set up. What you're doing out here, you're going to need guns, you're going to need men.
Oh, that. So Marston told you? It ain't a big show. I need calmness. If I take you, I might as well bring Micah
Now
along.
compare me to that oily turd again. You're a dead man.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Arthur, what's your problem with me? In fact, don't tell me. I already know. You're threatened by me.
Threatened by you.
Yeah, my youthful vigor. It intimidates you.
Does it?
It's a story as old as the hills. The changing of the guard, the fading of the light. You're toast, old man.
Okay. And what are you?
I'm the future, in all its glory.
Ah, well, good luck. Good luck and shut up. I want to get some rest before nightfall. Wake up, you lazy son.
What are you doing here, kid?
I'm coming, John, on the job.
I said you weren't coming.
Yeah, well, Arthur says I am, and it's his party, boy, so come on, let's go. Me and the big cheeses, love it. Can't wait to slit some bastard's throat.
You sure about this?
No. Are we ready?
Yeah. Train's due through tonight.
All right, then. It's on. Charles?
I'm ready.
Gentlemen, let's go earn some money. Giddy up.
Hey, all the horses untethered?
Think so.
Good.
All right,
Follow on behind us.
so we'll get into Wyatt's last gunfight. So Wyatt and the group he guarded
Follow the
were
trail
considered
southwest.
claim jumpers
There's a spot that's
and were confronted by armed representatives of the other
Why are
company.
you driving like a madman?
Okay,
They
And
see
King
this
wrote,
block in the tracks, they'll stop
it was the nervous
Apparently.
thing he had ever seen.
State line, so
When guns
shouldn't be too much in the way of guns
were
to deal
pulled,
with.
You're gonna get us killed.
hold on. When guns were pulled,
This
This is what I mean.
Wyatt
I'm
came
just
out of
here
his
for a
tent
couple of
with a
weeks, and I
Winchester
can come out of
rifle,
all the action.
firing
action
around at the
requires a
feet
brain.
of federal receiver
You're the funny
Stanford
fella, John
W.
Marston.
Austin,
My folks
saying,
say you had your feelings
"Back
the
off
whole
or I'll
time,
blow you
dead
apart,
sick,
or my name is
fondling
not
that new
Wyatt
scar,
Earp."
like you're gonna buy a breakfast in the morning.
You don't know what you're talking
The
about.
owners summoned the U.S. Marshal who arrested Earp and 27 others, serving them with a summons of contempt of court,
I was
sending them home,
that could put you out of commission
and
for the rest
Earp's
of the year.
actions did not resolve the dispute, which eventually escalated into the potash wars of the Mojave Desert.
I blame you two for
But
rescuing
Wyatt wasn't involved in the potash wars.
We got out of it.
But these two companies were fighting over this potash, and it got ugly after a while. We might actually discuss the potash wars later, but this is literally the very tail end of the West. This was 1910. Things were starting to change. The West was dying, and civilization was moving in.
That's the plan.
Pretty much.
So
Charles, you deal with the engineer. John,
it is what it
get your
is.
passenger car fast. Take charitable
So
donations,
before the
make
Earps were
sure
living
everyone
in Los Angeles pretty much full time. Now they did do their summers in Los Angeles, but the Earps bought a small cottage in Vidal, the only home they would ever actually own, and beginning in 1911, and until Wyatt's health began to fail in 1928. Wyatt and Josephine Earp summered in Los Angeles and spent the rest of the year
Mr. Smith,
in the
Mr.
desert
McGuire,
working their
come.
claims at the Happy Days mine,
When she slows,
which was
order.
And you?
I'm gonna make sure she slows.
what they named their mine.
That's do or die with you. I like it.
Get moving.
A lot of cutscenes in this one, but some good ones.
Here she comes.
What's going on here? What's going on?
Nothing good.
There we go. Now the Happy Days mine was located in the Whipple Mountains, a few miles north of Vidal. And Wyatt had some modest success with the Happy Days gold mine, and they lived off of the slim proceeds of income from it and some oil wells in the Oklahoma and Kern County. Around 1923, Charles Welsh, a retired railroad engineer and friend that Wyatt Earp had known since Dodge City, frequently invited the Earps to visit his family in San Bernardino. And when Welsh family moved to Los Angeles, the Earps accepted an invitation to stay with them for a while in their top floor apartment until the Earps found a place to rent. And it was around
I'm gonna count to 3.
1923 that they started spending more time in Los Angeles than they spent in Vidal, and by 1928 they were full time in Los Angeles because Wyatt's health began to fail.
You boys need me?
But
You go ahead and look for the baggage.
in the next episode, I'm going to go ahead and cut the story there. I mean, there's definitely more story to tell, but I am going to go ahead and cut it there because what's next is literally the end of Wyatt's life, and his funeral, and some words that he said before he died that kind of sum up
Come on, cuff it up, people. Don't
his
be
life
shy.
very properly.
Everything you got. Let's go.
I know a lot of historians over time have tried to paint Wyatt as the bad guy,
You should check on Sean.
and some of them have tried to paint Wyatt as the hero.
None of you
And the reality is, I'm not sure Wyatt was actually either of those things.
Christ's sake, you ain't even taking a look yet?
I do think that Wyatt was more on the side of the law than against the law. And I think that he led a life that, for the time and for everything that was going on, was something to be proud of.
Get up, you little Irish shit. Get up.
He was not always the best individual,
Help here, boy.
you know, but I feel like he made more good decisions than bad decisions, at least when it comes to morality.
Provide the cover.
Try me best.
And
I'm seeing double
yeah,
here.
he made a lot of failures. You know, he had a lot of small failures in life when it come to trying to make it successful. But I do think on the moral scale, I believe he was more on the side of good than he was on the side of bad. And
On me head.
At least you ain't
you
got
have a lot of
hole in it.
historians, a lot of modern day historians who are trying to
We've got a problem.
to judge the
Two
morals
arseholes on horses.
of
How
this
many
man
straight?
and
I
others
just see a pair of them.
In that case, we're fighting. Marston, Smith.
based on the morals of today. And we talked about this with Doc Holliday.
We said you men come out now. There's only two of
You can't really
fools. We got a whole lot less to
can't
lose.
really judge
Why
men
don't the two of you right away?
from
The way neither
100
you
years
can
ago
Goddamn liberties.
based on the morals of 100 years later. It's just, it doesn't work because the moral structure back then is very different. What was considered good back then is not considered good today in some cases. And what was considered bad back then is sometimes in today's society considered good. So it is really hard to judge these men based on our morals because they were not the same morals. Now, if Wyatt existed today and he did all these things, yeah, he probably wouldn't be a good man. But for the time, I believe he fell more on the side of good than he fell on the side of bad. You know, same with Doc Holliday. Same with Wild Bill Hickok. A lot of people look at Wild Bill Hickok as a scoundrel. A lot of historians, at least. But the reality is that these men, on numerous occasions, served the law, and they served it even when the law was corrupt. And that's a really big deal because it was very easy to be corrupt back then, almost as easy as it is today. There were a lot of men who abused the law to get what they wanted out of life, and to get away with heinous, horrible things back then. And all of these men that I tell these stories about that were the heroes of the Old West could have easily abused the law in that same way, and they chose not to. Even though they could have easily chose to do it. It was probably easier to abuse the law than it was to not abuse the law, and they still chose not to abuse the law on numerous occasions. And that speaks to the character of the man, or to the men and women that I tell these stories about. Because when you have an option before you and you choose to take the harder path because it's right, in my book, that makes you a good man, and it doesn't matter what moral structure you're looking at. It makes you a good woman, and it doesn't matter what structure you're looking at.
Very nice.
You weren't even invited.
What now?
We still
In either
need a
case, I'm going to go ahead and end it
enough for
here,
us to get out of here.
Was that a setup?
and
Law turned up real fast.
we'll finish out
I don't think so.
the story of Wyatt Earp next week. I hope you've been enjoying this.
Maybe.
I truly
They
have.
found me already near Horseshoe, but I think this
In either
was just
case,
locals.
like,
I hope
comment,
so. We'll head
subscribe,
into
let me know what you like,
Valentine's.
what
See
you
if I can
don't
get
like,
something
and y'all
started
have a
there.
wonderful
Good deal.
week.
Either way, We should all go it alone right now. You know the deal. Don't be followed.
Of course not, boss.